Hello, everyone, and welcome to this video on mind viruses, part 2. And our specific topic we're covering today is manipulation. So manipulation is something that a lot of people will, in their lifetime, deal with. And you might think, how is this a mind virus if other people are the ones doing it to you? The thing that you have to understand is how manipulators work. Now, I'm going to read off different types of manipulation that exist, and I'm going to explain them. And then I'm going to go through what are the mind viruses that lead people to being susceptible to this. So the first one is moving goalposts. So when you think about moving goalposts, this is a form of emotional manipulation where the criteria shifts, which have to be met in order to satisfy the person. So the goal is here, but then right as the person's getting close to the goal, oh, there's a new goal. And then right as they're getting to the next goal, oh, there's a new goal. And they keep dragging the puppet even further and further and further, constantly chasing the moving goalposts. And this is a form of emotional manipulation. Another one is generalization. And this is when extreme terms are used to accuse someone of a certain behavior. And you're generalizing the behavior in order to really make a point. Another one is changing the subject. So when a person deflects or changes the subject when they're called out on their bad behavior, they're quickly deflecting because they don't want to address the issue. Another one is gaslighting. This is one that you might deal with if you've dealt with somebody who's a sociopath, a narcissist, or something to that effect. And this is when a person makes their victim doubt their understanding of reality. They might make them question how real their experience was. Another form of emotional manipulation would be passive-aggressive behavior. And this is where, one minute they're aggressive, then the next minute they're passive, and then they might go back and forth. And they want to express their feelings, but they won't let themselves express it fully. And so there's some sort of sabotaging behavior there. Another one, as a clear example, is lying or denial. When asked about the truth, they might cover it up, or they might manipulate their feelings of another. Another emotional manipulation tactic is targeting insecurity. So when you're being vulnerable, they might target your insecurity in order to get you to do what they want. Another emotional manipulation tactic would be ignoring. This is very similar to selective hearing. You're talking, you're sharing with your partner about something that's really, really important to you, and they know it's important to you, but if they don't pay attention to what you're saying, it might make you seek their approval even more. Or it might get you to feel inadequate and get you to try even harder. Another emotional manipulation tactic is conspiring. This is when a person gangs up with other people to manipulate someone else. This is where they're getting multiple people involved. Another form of manipulation is the use of fear, evoking fear into an individual. When a person plays on another person's fears in order to get what they want. Well, we need to buy this now because this is going away soon, right? Sometimes fear of missing out, fear of loss are used to emotionally manipulate. This is the evoking of fear. Another example would be stereotyping. When a person dismisses someone as a result of stereotyping, such as their gender or their race or ethnicity. And that's a version of emotional manipulation. Another one is straight up emotional abuse. This is where the person misuses their emotional connection in order to shift the person one way or another. So if you think about like, oh, we're so close, how I would never do that to you. That's another emotional manipulation tactic. So another one that you'll think of is hoovering, and this is an attempt to draw a person back into a relationship right after they've gone through everything. So after offering closure, they'll just send you a message and try to get you hooked right back in. And this is a form of emotional manipulation. This is trying to get attention. And another version of manipulation that you might not be familiar with is triangulating. Now, this one is where you get multiple people involved in order to make someone look crazy. So the person would bring in a third person, who's an ex-partner or a rival, and manipulate this victim into some sort of, misunderstanding of the truth. It's another version of gaslighting with multiple people. Or you can create some sort of fake conflict in order to get somebody to buy or to sell or to do something. The other forms of manipulation include belittling somebody, making them feel smaller than, dehumanizing them so that you can get an outcome that you're looking for. Constant criticism is another one, where you're just constantly putting this person down, conditioning them to think that you know what's best for them. And so then they'll go after they'll do exactly what you say. You have other versions, which include some variation of temper tantrums, rage, yelling at somebody until they cave. And you do this over and over and over until they're just sick and tired of it. So they just give you what you want, what you're looking for. Other versions of manipulation include isolation or ignoring or giving the cold shoulder. Projecting is another one. Accusing somebody of what you're doing, right? So these are different types of manipulation. You also have, you have love bombing, which is like you're showering the person with love, and then they become dependent on you, and then they're making you emotionally attached. You also have devaluation. This is where you're constantly hurling insults and just kind of throwing it in there as everyday language. You're so crazy. I can't believe that. And it's a subtle pull down, and it's actually just getting them to do what your will is. And none of these are forms of healthy communication, right? None of these are healthy versions of relationships. So for the most part, these are actually quite toxic. Now, the thing you might be wondering is, how do I protect myself from emotional manipulation? So I want to share a little clip here that I thought was very powerful, because I think you'll see how this shows up in everyday life. Because things like this, you might think that, well, I don't really meet gaslighters and I don't really see people like that. So how is this relevant to me? But I want to show you the root cause of a lot of these things. And let me just share this clip with you. Okay, and this is from Seinfeld. So, if you have a Netflix subscription, you can probably see this, and maybe you're familiar with this this clip that I'm about to share. So you have your two characters, George and Jerry, and they're about to meet their friend.
Really want to have your parents over for dinner before they leave town.
That's good. Then I get the apartment for at least one night. I'm paying for this whole Paris trip. It's their anniversary present.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Alec.
Hey, Alec.
This is Joey.
Hey, Joey, how you doing?
Hey, listen. I was wondering if either one of you guys would be interested in doing some work for the Big Brother program. I'm kind of running the local chapter. What do you say, George?
Well,
Wouldn't you like to be a big brother to someone Like me? Please?
Well, sure, Joey, sure. I would be thrilled.
That's great, George. Thanks a lot. I'll get in touch with you.
Wouldn't you like to be a big
Yeah,
brother?
all right, Joey. That's enough. Let's go. See ya.
What happened?
What can I do? Did you see the mug on that kid?
Wouldn't you like to pass the ketchup to someone like me? Please?
So that is an example of how emotional manipulation can take place. Now, the thing that you want to be mindful of is how you let people into your mind. Remember, your mind has real estate, literally, yeah, there's your brain, but you also have the ability to allow people into your mind just by thinking about them, just by remembering a memory that happened, right? Or sometimes overthinking something can bring something up. So the thing that you want to really look at is how people are entering the thought fields of your mind. So the easiest way that people get in and manipulate others is through three common emotions. And I want to just give the top three. There are others, but I'm just going to give the top three. And it spells out the acronym FOG, F-O-G. So the first one is fear. So maybe they're intimidating you. Maybe they are creating some fear by either loss or fear of missing out, sometimes of some sort of fear of like, what's the worst case scenario that's going to happen? Well, that's going to happen to you if you don't do this. Fear. That's the first one. So you want to watch where you are being in fear. The second one is obligation. When you feel that you are obligated to do something, that it is your obligation to do something, you're already in the throes of being manipulated. So pay attention to labels. So how do people use labels with you? You're my daughter. You should know better. You're my mother. My mother should do this. A good mother would, blah, 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 right? You see how the labels can be used to manipulate people very easily. So pay attention to the forms in which obligation comes. You know, a good pastor would do this, or a good parishioner would do this. A good girlfriend would behave like this. You know, a good boyfriend always does X, Y, and Z. So pay attention to how labels are used to manipulate others. And it's an emotional ploy. Now, you also want to look at the last one. So we did fear, we did obligation, and we're going to do guilt. So guilt is another big one for manipulation. That's one of the top three. And guilt is something that we feel as if we should have known better. We should have done something more. And because of that, we start beating ourselves up. So if you're doing a clearing, you want to just definitely clear yourself of guilt. You want to clear yourself of any forced obligation. You want to clear yourself of any fears, any insecurities that you're having. You should also look, as a fourth one, you should look at blame, because oftentimes we're blamed for things, sometimes unjustly, right? So why didn't you do this? You should have done X, Y, and Z. Look at all the blame that is coming to you. And is it something that's in your control? Is it something that's not in your control? And if you can control it, what can you do about it? And if you can't control it, is it right for you to hold on to that blame and store onto that blame and allow it to affect your decision making? Is that fair? If it's not, then let it go, right? Do some clearing, do some restructuring, do some healing inner healing work, right? Another one you want to look at is embarrassment, humiliation, and shame. Now, these all are on a varying different set of, they're on a spectrum per se, right? So there could be public and there could be an embarrassment that happened to me and I feel embarrassed that I did something and only I know about it. I could be publicly humiliated in front of my peers. I could have a deep shame about a secret that only I know that is causing my family shame. So think about what these words evoke and how people use these emotions to manipulate people. Now, you might be looking at it in the sense of, well, am I just not supposed to feel anything? Like, is that the answer here? And no, that's not what this is about. What I'm trying to do is bring your awareness to the mind viruses that are there when people use these buttons and they're pushing your buttons. They might be pushing your button of fear. They might be pushing your button of obligation. They may be pushing your button of guilt. They might be pushing your button of shame or obligation, right? Or fears. You want to be very present to what is the emotion I'm feeling and why. Now, if there's anything related to your past that you're still holding on to, I want you to just focus on who that person is that brought that emotion up for you. And I want you to also focus on you. And I want you to allow yourself to forgive yourself and to forgive that other person. You're no longer reserving any judgment for that person, but you're allowing yourself to let it go. Could you let it go? Are you willing to let it go? And when are you going to let it go? And if you need to forgive yourself, this usually, forgiving yourself allows you to let go of self-criticism. It allows you to get that stuck energy unstuck and move forward. And if you're having something in the present, that's where you want to look at those other emotions. And if it's something about the future, it's probably related to anxiety or worry or some kind of fear. And you just want to let those go. You want to heal those. And you want to increase your ability to feel love, deep, unconditional love. When you're in a place of deep, unconditional love, you'll notice it's not possible to feel fear. When you're really, really tapped into unconditional love, you can't feel that shame. You can't feel that guilt. You can't feel that pain or that anxiety or that worry. Now, practically, what do you do when you're dealing with a manipulator? Are you just supposed to just feel unconditional love and be meditating and blissed out all the time? I don't recommend that. You do need to develop your boundaries. You need to see it where do my boundaries begin for my emotions, for my communication, my body, my money, my health, my wealth, my relationships. Where do my boundaries begin and where do they end? Where are the lines? Get clear for yourself. And it's okay to come up with this in conversation, to process through your feelings as you're feeling them. But some of the things that I do tell clients is that when you're in communication, don't just agree with everybody with what they say. Sometimes people use language to manipulate people. And this is a whole study in and of itself. I could make a whole nother video on this, specifically about influence and manipulation. But what I want to show is some tools that you can use in order to prevent that from happening. So if somebody's trying to manipulate you and they're telling you, well, you got to go do this and this and this or else, you don't have to agree. Don't be so agreeable. Shift your mindset about being agreeable. You can say, well, maybe that applies for some people. Maybe for some people, or they could tell you like, man, life sucks. Maybe that's what they're telling you. They're trying to enroll you in their story. But if you agree, that's going to bring you down, whether you agree with it, whether you want it to happen or not. You could say something like, That hasn't been my experience. When somebody's trying to tell you that that's never been done, and they're objecting to you, saying like, you want to build a 7-figure business? That's never been done by anybody in this family. Maybe your family member saying that. That's never been done. How do you think you're going to do it? You could say, up until now. That's never been done up until now. And sometimes you might notice that manipulators, they want to be nosy. They want more information. They're just mining for what you're up to while they're not focusing on working on themselves. What is it that you're making again? And how much money have you made on this business? And how many years have you been putting into this business? How many hours have you been putting into this business? And why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z? Why haven't you made it yet? To which you can respond, that's not something you need to know. That's on a needs to know basis. Use the power of your words to redirect the energy, to redirect those emotions so that you're not caught up in fear, doubt, comparison, pain, suffering. You don't want to be in that. Redirect with those language cues that I gave you. Maybe that's not been done before, but it doesn't mean that it can't be done. Maybe nobody's done this in this family up until now. Maybe life sucks for some people. Oh, it's a rainy day, but it hasn't been my experience that rainy days need to be sad. Oh, you want to know about my finances? Well, that's on a needs to know basis. So find ways in which you can upgrade your communication, where you can upgrade how you express your boundaries to others. In the next video, we'll keep going in this series of mind viruses, but if you've gotten value from this, I invite you to share your insights either on this video or share a message with me or bring it up on the next Pay It Forward Saturdays, and we can share as a group and keep the positive energy going. All right, cheers and have a good rest of your day.
Every day I will get to my target. There is no doubt. Zero. I will get to my target. I will. I know I will make it. There's not an ounce of doubt in my mind. No matter how many times I am beaten down, defeated, ridiculed, rejected, doubted, I do not care. I know my target. And I know in my heart, no matter how long it may take, no matter how dark the path, no matter the pain, I will fight, I will claw, I will adjust, and I will win. There is nothing on this earth that I will allow to defeat me. My mind is strong.